Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our amazing workshop. Stand out to get in with me, your host, Brandon Groce, and our co-host, Jacelyn Tantan. We're going to learn all about today how to land amazing jobs at the top tech companies in the world today. With that said, without any further ado, let's begin in terms of talking about what is on our agenda for today. Two pieces of the puzzle that we're going to discuss and that are highly important for this conversation, and we'll dive a little bit into what we have towards the end of this session today for you. So let's begin. So first off, our agenda today is to give you guys a little bit of background on ourselves, who we are, where we've been, and what value we can bring to you and are going to bring to you today. On top of that, today's session is in two parts. Tantan is going to take the first, which is part one, the arts of portfolio positioning. Part two is all my baby. It is mastering networking and outreach. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason that we have this workshop in the first place is because there's a huge pain point in our community when it comes to designers or even people trying to break into the design community or even elevating themselves in the design community, space, and workforce. Guys, it's not just one piece or the other piece. It's not just about networking and it's not just about building a badass portfolio. So today we're going to discuss what one needs in the portfolio, how to craft one's brand, how to make oneself look the part for a position they are looking to be in, as well as how to be able to network themselves into that position because both pieces of the puzzle are needed. With that being said, at the end of this segment, we are going to go into Q&A, some frequently asked questions, as well as give you guys some free resources that we have put so much time, effort, and laborious sweat into because we love you guys so much and we know that these tools and resources, when in your hands, will allow you to get much further than you could by yourself. All right, so with that said, you guys are probably like, great, this is for free. What's the catch? Honestly, absolutely nothing. We just want you guys to make sure that you guys pay attention in this webinar, or we just want to make sure that you guys watch this entire workshop. One piece of the puzzle, like I said in the beginning, is not all that you need. You need everything, a holistic view, and we're trying to give you guys all of that today. So the only catch is we want you to watch the entire session. So a lot of the resources, free things that we have at the end of today's session so that you guys get the best out of it. And then towards the end, we'll give you guys a link to download exactly what we have in store for you. So with that said, let's dive in. So first off, I don't want to waste anybody's time. I want you to know if this is for you, and if this is for you, maybe where you are right now and where we're looking to take you on this journey. So if you're in any one of these three spots, you could be a freelancer, you could be a bootcamp student, and or somebody who's already in a design position looking to just climb a little bit higher on that ladder. With that said, if you are a freelancer, maybe where you are is you've been working as a freelancer for quite some time, but you're not making the money you thought you would, and spending countless hours working night after moonlight, lighting candle after candle, and you're tired, your back hurts, and you need a new chair. So where you were probably wanting to be is to transition to a more stable situation, a salary job where you can do what you do best, design, and have everybody take care of the other unnecessary things that you don't want to deal with. Maybe you are a bootcamp student where you currently or have enrolled in boot camps in the past, but are not happy with the impact that they had on your career. And as a bootcamp student, probably what you're looking for is to find somebody who can actually deliver on what they've sold you. The ability to find and help you get the job that you're qualified for, your dream job. Or maybe you're already in the design community, you're already in the design position, but you're looking to kind of get up the ladder a little bit and you're really struggling. Maybe you're stuck in a position and you're trying to find somebody who can help you climb and understand how to position yourself, your portfolio, how to talk, how to rebrand yourself to be able to get to that next step in your career or jump to another vertical within design. So with that said, what you're looking to do is you're continuing to pursue your design career, but want to land a better design job, better benefits, higher growth, better pay. We can help you guys with that. I also want to share with you guys, this is not a design 101 sort of workshop. What we're looking for and the people that we're going to be talking to today are people who have design skills already. And simply we're looking to talk to people who are looking to control their outcomes when it comes to applying for jobs, the ability to find the right strategy to get in front of the right people when it comes to looking for a new job, or really if you find yourself to be the person who is looking to position yourself for your dream job. So again, if you're looking for your dream job, you're looking to get the skills to control the outcomes of really what you're doing in the whole hiring or trying to find a new job process, and or looking to better your network strategy, you're in the right place. So with that said, that is a little bit about what we're going to go over today in terms of itinerary / agenda. But let's dive into a little bit about who we are as people, where we've been, where we are today, and why is it that you should trust us with helping you on your journey. So let's dive in. So a little bit about me. You know that feeling when you're first starting out, super excited to make your mark in design? Well, let me tell you, that was me, and I'm sure you as well. I dove headfirst into learning everything I could get my hands on. Adobe XD, Figma, After Effects, Wix, Premiere Pro, coding, everything. Let me tell you, it was a lot. I was skill stacking like crazy, thinking that each new skill that I got would be the golden ticket to my dream job. But let me tell you, it didn't quite work out that way. It turns out having a bunch of skills is awesome, but it's not everything. I had nobody to share my skills with. I was learning in isolation, no network, no community, just me and my skills. It's kind of like showing off in an empty room, you know? And man, let me tell you, my portfolio, I kept changing it and changing it, and let me tell you, I honestly was missing the point. I had no idea who I was trying to impress. I was building these portfolios without really thinking about my audience, my potential partners, and the problems that they're trying to solve day to day at their company, and how I could show them that I was the solution to their problems. I wasn't talking to them. I was just had my work slapped willy-nilly on my portfolio. And when I finally realized this, it changed the game. Getting a job is not about showing others what you know and the cool things you've built. It's about how you connect, build relationships, and communicate it all. It's about understanding the needs of those who might hire you. Fast forward to today, I've been around the block, having worked and partnered with some of the top companies in the design world after learning this one thing. I've worked with Adobe, Wix, Disney, Dannon, LG, Hilton, AIGA, Awards, Dribble. Whew, honestly, I could go on, but I won't. You get the gist. Regardless, the thing I learned that is massively important that I want to share with you guys is that I want to pass on that everything is about relationships. Relationships are what open up doors and opportunities. Doors and opportunities are more than just a job and a salary. And it's not just me that can testify to this. My co-host here, Tantan, has been all through it as well. And that's enough about me. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Tantan. Tantan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Wow, what an introduction. I mean, did you all see how many logos were in that slide? That's going to be a tough one to follow. But I'm going to try my best. I'm Jacelyn Tantan. Yes, I know you've been saying it wrong, but you know what? I forgive you. And just like Brendan, I've also had the opportunity to work with some amazing companies. Amazon, Dribble, Adobe. Fun fact, that's actually where Brendan and I met. And recently, I was working as a creative director for Apple. And today, I'm hoping to bring the knowledge and experience that I've gathered over the past 12 years to help you stand out and get in. And I know you're excited to get started, and so am I. Let's begin.
And so let's begin, guys. Let's dive in. Tantan, take the wheel.
It's a pleasure to have you with us. I'm excited to share everything we got for you in this session. It's incredible. But yeah, as Brendan said, we know what we are talking about. I know because I used to face similar issue like you all. You know the drill. You send out applications after application, and what do you get back? Crickets. Nothing. It's like you are aiming into a vast void, hoping for a hit, but it's just silence. And networking? Well, my approach was pretty much non-existent. I would just go into LinkedIn, fire out a bunch of LinkedIn requests, and hoping somebody will get back to me. It's like tossing pebbles into a black hole, honestly. It felt pointless and a total waste of effort. But until I trial and error and a bunch of rejection and something click. I realized if I kept doing the same thing, nothing will happen. So I changed a little bit. And I scored an interview with Huge. I was like, okay, maybe there's something there. So I tweaked it again and I scored an interview with Squarespace. And then at that moment, I realized there was a formula. And I've used this formula and been able to work with Adobe, Amazon, Warner Brother Discovery, Hotels.com, Nike, Dribble. And I went as far as being a creative director for Apple. Yes, that Apple. And Brendan has used this same formula to work with Adobe. Fun fact, that's how we met. He also worked with LG, Wix, Dribble. And you see the list, it goes on. And that's exactly what I want to cover with you today. We want to spare you that long and painful journey of uncertainty and show you how to turn a 2, 3, and for some of you, 10 years struggle into something you can solve in a matter of weeks. Yes, I said weeks. And as we go through that, please consider your own journey and the time and effort you put in before you arrive into this webinar today. Consider why you are here. So before we do anything, I want you to stay until the end. And there's a reason for that, because we are going to share with you our blueprints, our templates, and guides on how you too can do the same thing. So you do not want to miss out. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm here to talk to you all. And you're wondering, you're saying, okay, what is that formula? Well, yeah, let's talk about it. So first, I'm going to talk to you all about the art of portfolio positioning. And then Brendan's going to go and talk about networking. And I promise you don't want to miss any of this. So let's talk about portfolio positioning. In my countless of interviews and where I've been interviewed, or have been fortunate enough to have interviewed other people for a position, the one thing that you all obviously know that in order for you to get a job in this industry, you need a portfolio that stands out. But but how do you make sure that your portfolio stands out? Well, here's the formula that I've developed that worked for me, that has worked for Brendan, and worked for a lot of other people that I've had the opportunity to mentor. So there's a 5-step, there's more to it, but these are the 5 steps that I want to share with you all today. Step 1, research. Yes, you cannot skip the research phase. It is important. Just like everything else that we do, you have to know what they're looking for in order for you to provide it for them. Step 2, this step is also important, personalization. You have to find a way to stand out from the sea of sameness and make yourself unique. Step 3, narrative. Every good portfolio should tell a story. And your portfolio is telling the story of you, but it should also tell the story of your work. So you have to tell compelling stories in your portfolio. Step 4, precision. Yes, this is important. There's no shortcut to this. You have to be detail oriented. In order for you to land jobs at any of these companies, you have to pay attention to the small details. And step 5, probably one of my favorite, you got to showcase it. Imagine you put in all that work and you don't share it with anyone. What's the point? And it's not just about sharing with people. It's more than that. You have to showcase it so that way you can get the exposure, and potentially maybe you don't even have to apply. They reach out to you. It happens. I know. So let's dive into the research. So when you think of research, there's a lot of research that's involved when you're designing your portfolio. Obviously, you researching, you for inspiration, you're looking what's out there. But this research that I want you to do is different. In this phase, I want you to design for the job you want. And now, I know you're probably thinking to yourself, what? You want me to redesign a portfolio for every job that I'm applying for? No. That would be insane. No, it's not like your resume. This is a portfolio. But when I say design for the job you want, is that if you are a UI designer, then when I go to your portfolio, you should really be showcasing your visual skills. If you are a UX designer, when I go to portfolio, I want to see your research and your understanding. And if you are a developer, it's your chance to be flaunting your programming skills. Show me website that you've done. So you can't be a UI designer and don't be a jack of all trades, because these companies that are hiring, they're hiring for very specific skills. So define who you are, what you want to be, and be the best at that. And the way you do that is to research. Find what companies are looking for. If you aspire to work at a company like Google, then go to Google career page, find what do they call their product designers. Is it called product designer or is it UI UX designer? If you want to be a product designer, find what they call it. If you want to be a developer, research the job listing for the companies that you want to work for and align your portfolio to their needs, because you are they looking for somebody to solve a problem, and if you don't tell them that you have the solution, they'll have no way of knowing that you have the solution. So that's the first part of research. The second part of the research is, don't fix it if it ain't broken, right? We all hear that saying all the time, but what does that mean in terms of portfolio? If you want to work at companies like Apple and Google and Meta, you have to look at portfolios of other people that have landed a job at company like Apple and Google and Meta, because there's no better place to look than other people that have done what you want to do. So you look at this portfolio, find the common denominator between the portfolios, see why they were able to land a job versus you. And all of these things are important. And I'm not asking you to go and steal other people's work. I'm not even asking you to go and be a copycat of them. No, I'm actually asking you to stand out on your own and be your own person. But in order for you to do so, you have to understand what works and what doesn't. Find out why these people were able to land a job. And if you do that research and you look into their work, you'll see it. The next part, and this is the one time I will give you permission to go and steal. Look at the job listing at companies that you want to work for. Find the keywords that they are looking for. Find the key requirement that they're looking for. If you're a product designer and they list in their job listing, look for product designer, don't put UI UX on your portfolio. Put the title of product designer. I know this might sound silly, but recruiters that are looking to hundreds of portfolio might not have time to discern whether you are UX designer, you are product designer. You'll be surprised that sometimes these recruiters don't know the difference. Even if the job description is exactly the same, you want to match your title to the job that you're looking for. You want to make sure that in the listing, you want to steal any relevant keywords and put that in your portfolio. That way, when these recruiters go to your portfolio, they can see the solution to the problem they're looking for. So this is the one time I'm giving you permission to steal. Go and steal keywords from this job listing and put them in your portfolio. Obviously, don't just stuff keywords in your portfolio, but make sure that they are relevant to the job that you are to the case study that you are putting on your portfolio. And your about page, all of those things, just make sure that you are the solution to the problem they're looking for. And the only way you can do that is by listing and putting the words that they're looking for. In the next, and I'm not going to dive into this because, like I mentioned before, Brendan is going to walk you all to networking. But the one tips I will give you right now is that don't wait until you need a job to start networking. Networking is like a garden. You don't plant an apple on Monday and hope to eat apple on Tuesday. Better yet, it's best to plant the seed when you don't need it. And networking is similar. Don't wait until you need a job to start networking. You should have been networking yesterday, and the next best time to start networking is today. And that is all I'm going to talk about when it comes to networking. But I put that as part of the research because networking requires research, and Brendan will dive even deeper into that. So please stay till the end. And he's not only going to dive deep, we're also going to give you pretty much all you need to start networking. And it pays off. Trust me. And I might be misquoting here, but I believe it was Vader that says, a well-researched portfolio is your talent's GPS. And what does that mean, right? It means if you present yourself as the solution to the problem, it's like giving them a GPS to find you. Recruiters will find you, hiring managers will find you, but you just need to present yourself as the solution to the problem that they have facing. That's all it took. It's crazy. But if you do that, yes, there's more to it, sure, but that's a big part of it. They first need to find you. And the way they're going to find you is if you are a solution to the problem that they're facing. We search for things when we need help with something. And if you present yourself as the solution, well, boom, here you go. So I think Vader might be right on this one. And then to show to you all that this is not just theories, like I have a testimonial here from Andy who killing it at Yelp. Yes, that Yelp. When we worked together, she was going through the same thing. She was facing similar problem with all of you. And it wasn't just the research phase, but we worked with her and did the research together and crafted the portfolio. Now that she's not only killing it, she's moving up the ladder and doing the thing that she wanted to do, the thing she's passionate about. So this work, we've done it and we have the testimonial to show. And as we go to every one of these, I'm going to sharing some more testimonial with you. So I want to move to this at a decent speed because I want to give Brendan enough time to talk about networking because it is that important. So the next thing is personalization. And you might be thinking, like, what do I mean by personalization? Well, what I mean is that you need to be able to remove yourself from the sea of sameness. If you look and feel like everyone else, then you're not solving the problem. You need to be able to stand out. So you might be asking yourself, how do I stand out? Well, showcase your story. Tell people why they should hire you versus this other person. Because let me be honest with you here for a second. A lot of people can design. And no matter how good you are, someone else is probably slightly better than you. That's just reality. There's 8 billion people on the planet. But guess what? One thing I've learned through my time working for these companies is that they don't hire for skills. Because if they were hiring for skills, they would be going to people left after right. Yes, don't get me wrong, skills is important. But most importantly, they want to hire somebody that is passionate. Because passion breeds innovation. And these companies are looking for people that can help them innovate. It is true. When I was a creative director for a company like Apple, like when I was hiring, that's what I look for. I used to say this phrase all the time. I said, skills without passion are just labor. And you can find people that can give you labors, but we're not looking for labors. Labors is part of it, but in reality, we're looking for passion because we're looking for people that can create and innovate. So skills with passion is innovation, and skills without passion, they're just labor. So how do you showcase your passion? How do you showcase that you are more than just a skill? Well, your portfolio should be more than just a database of work. Have an about page. Tell me what about design that you're passionate about. Tell me your story. And too often, I think we're too afraid of getting vulnerable. But that's what separates you from the next person. Share your story. It will pay off. And I have this example of Grace, who was a former intern at Apple. And how do you think she landed that job? Yes, she had to work. Good. You need to have the skill. I'm not saying you don't need it. You absolutely need it. But guess what? When you go to her about page had that extra level of, wow, that's an interesting fact that I didn't know. She tells me her story, but you are storytellers. You are designers. You don't have to tell your story just using words. Use visual. Don't just write an essay because no one's going to read it. So you need to find a way to tell your stories and tell me about your passions in a way that captivate your style while also getting your point across in your about page. or on your homepage or wherever you choose to do it. I would highly suggest you have an about page but at the end of the day, brevity is key. You need to keep it short and get to the point, but share your story. The next part is showcase your style. Yes, I get it. You go to a word, you see this portfolio with the big typography and all of those things and the cool animation. And I'm speaking of myself here, my portfolio looked like that. But guess what? That style of work, that's my style. And it just made that's just what I did. But and I am in a position now that I can get more creative with my portfolio because I have already proven myself in the industry. I've already done these things where if I had to get a job, I can just, I'm not trying to brag here, but there are certain people that can do that. You've worked for so many of these big companies. Now you can wear these as a badge of honor, and that opens door. It really does. But until then, or even after, you can still stand out more if you can showcase your unique style. If you can design a portfolio, and do not, and I'm going to say this, and I want you to look at me. I don't want you to sacrifice user experience for the sake of trying to be cute. That's not what I mean at all. Your portfolio should still hold the standard of easy to navigate. That is the most important part. I need to be able to get there, get the information that I'm looking for in a way that's quick and fast, because as a hiring manager, as a recruiter, I won't have time to learn something new. But it doesn't mean it needs to be boring. It doesn't mean it has to look and feel like everyone else. What something about your style that make you stand out? And I have this example from Steven. I mean, he went overboard on that one personally, but it's memorable. I remember it. I remember the guy that created his own OS. The writing is clever. The layout is clever, but most importantly, it's still easy to navigate. I can still get the information that I need. Is Steven looking for work? Probably not. And he's worked at big enough companies where he probably can get to that level of creativity because he has this name to show. But the uniqueness of it stands out. It doesn't look like another portfolio from a Word. So stand out while not sacrificing the ease of use on your portfolio. I have another testimonial here I want to share with you, and that's with Meg O, we'll just call her Meg, who's currently working as a designer at Calendly. When she started with me, it was a very similar situation. She didn't know how to go about getting a job at one of these big companies, because remember, when these companies release an app, have an open role, hundreds, sometimes even thousands of people apply for them. So how can you stand out among thousands of applicants? It's hard. You know how you stand out? Research. Create a portfolio that stands out. Send out a resume that stands out. These little things, these little personalization that you add to your portfolio, these little extra things that you do are going to help you stand out, because no one else are going to be doing that. That's how you stand out. And that's how Meg did it. We worked together, and I think we worked together for 6 weeks. And then it wasn't overnight. She put in a lot of work, but it works. She landed her dream job at Calendly. And so can you. So now let's talk about narrative. I'm a designer. So, but here's the thing. And I say this all the time. Emotion creates connection. And what is the best way to evoke an emotion? Well, great storytelling. And you're like, well, I'm not a writer. Okay, you're a designer. All we doing is storytell. Your case study, it should tell a story. Your homepage should tell a story. Your about page absolutely should tell a story. Because in order for you to create a connection, you have to evoke some sort of emotion. You can't just do the same thing and expecting different result. You have to change that. And I'm challenging you to do that. So how do you tell a story in your portfolio? Any great story requires a few things. And the best thing like you're going to need when you're telling a story, especially for your portfolio, you need a hook. So on your portfolio, what's a good hook? Well, you got to start strong. There are a few things you want to keep in mind while you're creating a great story for a portfolio. You have to answer. Remember, you are solving a problem and there are somebody looking for a solution. You have to tell them the solution that you can offer them. And what's the best way to tell them that? Well, right away, you need to tell them, who are you? It's good. Any good story, any good narrative, it's always better when you can put a name or a face to the name, right? So in your portfolio, you don't have to put an image of yourself. That's not necessary, but you absolutely should tell me who you are right off the bat. So who are you? What do you do? And how can I get in touch with you? These are the three most important things you need in your homepage, anywhere in your portfolio. And of course, number 4, you need to show the work. So in this example that I have of Gail, I'm going to go to the next slide and break it down for you all. So number 1, who is he? Gail is a good friend of mine. He's an award-winning designer, absolutely talented human being. But in his portfolio, I like it. It's simple. I didn't just pick it because he's a friend. I picked it because he answers the question that I would look for when I'm reviewing a portfolio. He answers the question that any hiring manager, any recruiter would be looking for while they're looking for you and your work. So who is he? Look at number 1. He is Gail. What does he do? He's a digital designer. Oh, fun fact. He's a freelancer. Guess what he did? He tell me when he's available. If you're not a freelancer, that's cool. If you're looking for full-time work, you should probably mention that you're looking for full-time work. It doesn't hurt your chances. If anything, it helps you because now you're removing the guesswork from a recruiter, from a hiring manager needing to guess whether you're looking for work or not. So he tell me who he is, tell me what he does, and he tell me that he's looking for work and when he's available. The next thing, in one of the, he give me an easy way to contact him. Now that I know who he is, I know what he does, I'm interested in working with him. Oh, the contact button is right there. Oh, and my favorite part about all of these is super important. Number 4, I can see the work. It's right there. I don't need to go look for it. I don't need to do extra work. In your portfolio, just like when you're telling a really good story, you having a strong intro, part of that intro requires you to showcase the work. Don't hide it. Don't get cute with it. Showcase the work. Next, and I mentioned this before, evoke emotion to build connection. How do you do that? When you're building your case study, this is specifically relating to your case study. When you're building your case study, I challenge you, don't start with the visual. I want you to take a pen and paper and then say to yourself, what emotion am I trying to evoke in this case study? Or what emotion did this work evoked in, like the outcome evoked for the people that come across it? Whatever that was, I want you to tell that story. First, write it down. Pen and paper. Think of a song. Or there are certain music when we listen to, it makes us feel a certain way. Sometimes it's sad, sometimes it's happy. But guess what? We remember those songs. A movie that we watched when we were younger, and or maybe they played a theme song or whatever it was. If it had evoked any type of emotion, we remember that. In your case studies, too often I read case studies and it's just like, I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that. Cool. But where's the emotional part? Listen, as human, we love an underdog story. Don't shy away for telling us in your case study that, hey, I tried this, it didn't work, but hey, I did this instead. And, it's okay to talk about the things that you did that didn't work in your case study. But as long as you have that, you be like, hey, we tried this, it didn't work. But then when we try this other thing, that worked. That's not a bad thing. It shows that you are resilient. You show that you don't quit after one failure. And it also shows your vulnerability. And that is okay. Do that. I want you to do that in your case study. That's how you evoke an emotion, because guess what? All of us had fell at some point. All of us had ups and downs. So showcase your vulnerability in your case study. But don't just write a paragraph, because no one's going to read that. You are a designer. You are storytellers. So break the story with visual and then do bite-sized content. Use captions when appropriate. Use animation. Whatever you have to do to tell that story, just as long as it's not just a block of words, just small bites here and there to just captivate your audience. That's how you tell a story. But most importantly, you want to evoke an emotion on people. Don't just tell a story that doesn't go anywhere. Evoke an emotion. That is important. Next part, I'm going to make it easy for you, or at least the start with. I'm going to give you the ingredients that you absolutely must have on a case study. First, tell me your role. Were you a solo designer, or were you in a team? What was the problem that you were solving? What was the solution? And if you are a UX designer, I mean, I would say any designer, what research method did you use? It's important. Because by setting up these things early on, the moment I land on that case study, by setting these key ingredients on top, it's giving me enough context as I'm scrolling to know what to expect. And by doing that, you're removing the guesswork. Now, as a recruiter, when I'm looking at this, as a hiring manager, when I'm looking at that, I'm no longer guessing, because I understand the context. I understand you work within a team, and I understand what your role was, and I understand the problem that you were trying to solve, and here's the solution you came up with. So as I'm scrolling now, I have these in mind, and then now you're just telling me the story. Walk me to the challenge that you face. Walk me into it. Like, just literally transport me into your world and let me walk in there with you. And that will evoke that emotion that we're going for. Because at the end of the day, that's what we want. We want people to remember us. And the best way to remember us is to evoke a feeling. So tell me the challenge. Tell me all of those things. And then this is where, like, it's important, right? This is what I'm calling like that moment of, like, like the underdog story. And at the end, give me some success metric. How did it do? It's so important. And too often I come across portfolios and I come across all these things, and these people, they did an amazing job with the work, and then you get to the end and they don't tell me anything. I'm like, don't leave me in a cliffhanger. How did this go? Did you, like, what was the result? Like, did people like it? Like, it doesn't really matter. Did the client give you positive feedback? Anything that is positive at the end of the day is a good metric. Any sort of metric, whether it was client feedback, whether it was the rollout was 100%, whether it was we reduced this specific problem that we were trying to solve, like anything like that at the end of a case study is absolutely vital. I need to know the result. Don't leave me in a cliffhanger. And that formula, if you can follow that, it's going to help your case study stand out. And that's how you get in. And I have an example here for you. I want you to all see. So this is a case study from, I believe, like, honestly, like, I don't know her personally. It's just a case study that I came across. She used to work for Meta, and at some point she used to work for Shopify. And this is the case study that I came. And it's much longer than this. I decided to cut it in half just to show you the top section and the bottom section. But guess what? On the top, she told me exactly the same thing. She told me her role, she told me the problem, she told me the solution, and all of those things, which is great. And then throughout the case study, really awesome storytelling is happening. But at the end, that section stood out to me, because at the end of all the hardship and all the problem and all the things and all the trial and error, here's the success metric: 1 million plus business users. Guess what? Shopify has over 1 million plus business users. So that's expected. That's not anything but it looks good, and 100% rollout rate. That's a good thing to know. And most importantly, 70% reduction on support ticket. So whatever she set out to solve, she did it. And these right here are the solution. That's not leaving you in a cliffhanger. That's taking you on a journey and then like giving you that, like that feeling. And that's a case study that I'm going to remember. And that's the reason it's in this slide. It came across my desk. I loved it. And here it is. I'm sharing it all with you because it works. And again, I'm not saying to go and copy this, but the idea of it, the narrative, the storytelling, the showcasing of the success metric, that is worth implementing into your own case study. And I had a chance, I was talking with my boy, William. Sometimes I call him Bill, goes by Shakespeare. You might have heard of him. And he says this. He's a bit of a dramatic. He said, thy portfolio must story tell, thus recruiter shall swipe right on thee. What does that mean? Well, essentially, I'm really good at translating William's quotes. Essentially, what he's telling you is that if your portfolio tell a compelling story, one that evokes emotion, and it makes it memorable, then recruiter is going to swipe right on you. And isn't that all what we want? Instead of just throwing pebbles into the void, we want to hear back, well, tell a compelling story. And then here again, I have another testimonial that was shared with me by my friend Vasek. And he was one of those guys, like, absolutely love working with him. He was honest. We got along really well. But when we first started, he told me, like, he didn't know what he wanted to do. He wasn't sure, like, where his career wanted to go, because he's had success. He was an entrepreneur. He had success doing that. And he also loved design and he loved UX, and he was conflicted. So we did some exercise to really define, because at the end of the day, remember what I said about passion? That comes into play, because follow your passion. Because if you follow the thing that you love, it will never feel like work. And the moment it starts to feel like work, you need to reevaluate your priorities. Because you are skilled on something, it does not mean you're passionate about it. I like to think I'm really good at cutting my grass, but I have zero passion in becoming a landscaper. And this is important. Why? Because Vasek's story was very similar to that. Like, he was really skilled at certain things, but he was like, I'm not sure this is what I'm passionate about. So we worked together 6 weeks, I think. Yeah, maybe even longer than that. But we put in a plan. And then after all of that, like, we came together, and then I was like, listen, you need to figure it out. Like, we worked together. We figured out what he was passionate about. And once we figured out what he's passionate about, we put in the research. We customized the portfolio. We did the work. We put out the case studies. And yes, it took work. He had to do the work. I help as much as I can. I know what I'm putting out, but he needed to put in a lot of the work too, because I can't do the work for him. And after all that, he ended up getting a job with a UX design job at Wix Studio, and he's absolutely happy. We stay in contact. We still chat on Slack. But guess what though? Storytelling. And I'm giving you this testimonial not because like I like to, yes, I want to share these with you because I know they work. And also I only speak from experience that I've done, the things that I've done myself. I've done these things too. I'm not just telling you theories. I'm telling you things that I've done and I've helped other people do, and they've seen success. So these are not just theories. These are facts. So I want to talk to you a little bit now about precision, and I hope we're doing well on time, Brendan. I'm sorry. I just want to get this done and get these things across that it resonate with you all. So I'm going to talk about precision, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it because I want to be very aware of the time constraint. I want to respect your time because I strongly believe time is the most valuable thing that we have. And the last thing I want to do is to waste too much of yours. So let's talk about precision. What is precision? Well, I call it precision, but really it just means you have to be somewhat detail oriented. Not somewhat. Honestly, you have to be detail oriented. Like, you have to craft your creation to perfection. Yes, I know I mentioned that companies don't just hire for skills, they hire for passion. That is 100% true. But you can't expect to get jobs at the likes of Apple and Google. I'll tell you a story. So when I first started working for Apple, I wanted to go work for the team that do the events, right? The event team, because they know what's coming out a year in advance and all of these great things. So when I interviewed for that position, the creative director, because I was already working with Apple, but in order for me to go into that team, I still needed to interview for that specific team. And the creative director told me this thing, and I was already working there for like a few months. And he said, at Apple, perfection is not applauded because perfection is expected. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, that stressed me out for a little bit. I was like, that's a heavy load, right? Like, I don't want to be stressed out thinking like everything I do need to be perfect. But in reality, that is expected in the bigger place. And it doesn't mean that it needs to be like you need to stress about it, because it's not hard, especially on your own portfolio, to make sure, because you have 100% control of the things that you put in there, and the things that you put on your portfolio, whether it's the layout, the consistency, the work themselves, need to be, well, they need to be really close to perfect. Like, in perfect, not in the sense of like, oh, you've achieved perfection, but perfect in the sense of like it's consistent. It's like you pay attention to the smallest details, and we're gonna dive into that. Your portfolio should not have any typos. Just point blank. And if you not comfortable, use ChatGPT to spell check for you. Use a friend. That's what I do. I used to go to my friend. I'm like, hey, listen, I just wrote this. Can you check it for me? And that's not to say like, you can't make mistakes. We are human. After all, to like, like what does the saying go, right? Like, to err is human, to fix is divine. So we can all make mistakes. That's expected. But if you know your weaknesses, and if you know you're not the strongest when it comes to spellings and writing and things like that, get a friend to check for you. Use ChatGPT, whatever it takes. I want you to make sure, because typos and errors and any of these things can cost you a gig. It can absolutely do. You can do all of these other things right, but if you get that one thing wrong, it can still cost you the job. So don't do that. So here are 3 things I want you to keep in mind. The third one, honestly, it's more of a me problem. So here are the 3 things I want you to keep in mind. Number 1, consistency. I want you to make sure that every single thing in your portfolio, and that's something we can work on together, right? That it is consistent. The layout, the typography, everything needs to be consistent. Once you define it in one place, just keep it consistent in another place, because these are the things that's going to hurt you or help you. You have to be consistent. Image quality. This is a personal pet peeve. I absolutely hate to see low quality images in case studies. It's a huge turnoff. I can't deal with it. No one I know can deal with it. It just makes you look like you don't care. And I know you do. So this day and age, with the advancements of AI, you have no reason to not be able to get a high quality markup. So I would rather you take it out than to leave an image that is questionable. And of course, part of that too is also you want to make sure your website load at a decent speed. So use like image processing softwares that can reduce the image size without losing quality, to make sure that you're getting both a fast load speed, but also not having low quality images. The next one is make sure you renew your domain. Honestly, it's an embarrassing story that I did. I'm applying for work, not getting a response, wondering why. Guess what? I forgot to renew my domain because the credit card I had in file had expired. And I got the email, but sometimes, we don't always check our emails. At least I don't. So, boom, I'm sending application, not hearing back. But that's because nobody was able to see my domain. That may look bad. So don't do that. I don't think this is one of those things that happen too often, but just precautionary tale. You never know. So, and I have one more testimonial for you here. And this is from my friend Victor. And this is one of those testimonials I love to share, because I got to work with Victor. Let's see, maybe like 6 months ago or so. Well, depending on when you're watching this, it could have, like, let's just say I got to work with Victor a while back, and Victor came to me. He was working at a company. He it was an agency. He didn't mind the work. The work was okay, but he wasn't necessarily passionate about it, and he was looking to expand his wings. But he was like, "But I'm not sure if I have the work. I'm not sure if my work is good enough." Like, and we all go to that. We are our hardest critics. We never think like the things that we do are good. And to be fair, I would, when he came to me, he's like, "Yeah, I'm not sure if the work is good enough," and all of these things. And I was like, "Listen, let's look at the work." And I look at the work, and I think the work was good. And I was hard on Victor. And I will tell you this, like, I was really hard on him, but for one reason, because I knew he had it. So just like, they said, in order for you to get diamond, you have to apply some pressure. And I knew he had diamond in him. So I did apply some pressure to him, and I pushed him. Every time he would send me a case study, I'm like, could it be better? Let's push this further. And of course, I always trying to give constructive feedback. And we kept pushing the work and pushing the work. And eventually, like, I started seeing the joy. Like, he started actually looking forward to showing the work, because every time we go and redesign it, every time we push it a little bit further, it got better. So he started to get excited about it, because at the end of the day, the one thing that I told him, I was like, listen, I would prefer you have 2 strong case studies than to have 4 mediocre case studies. So we're going to only focus on 2, and we're going to make them the best that they can be. And guess what happened? Well, he landed a sweet gig working with the city of LA, where he wanted to go, because his case studies was about sport, and he wanted to do something that was related to that. So he worked and worked and worked, and he landed a sweet gig. But all I did was give him the same formula that I'm sharing with you here, with some extra help, of course, because sometimes you can have the formula, but it's not always easy to go at it alone. Like, I know when I first started, if I had the help of a creative director or somebody that's been in position where I wanted to be, it would have saved me countless of non-sleep hours, which honestly, your mental health is the most important thing. Do not miss sleep trying to work on your portfolio. It is not worth it. Anyway, that's a story for another time. Now let's talk about showcase. This is probably one of my favorite parts. You spent so much time working on it. You might as well, or I have in the slide that says, share it. It took you blank months to make it. I mean, yeah, share it. Share it with your trusted friend. If you have a mentor, share it with your mentor. Get some constructive feedback. Go on online communities. Share it on Slack channels. Share it with people that you trust. Or better yet, share it with people that can give you constructive feedback on how to make it better. But the fear of sharing our work sometimes are the biggest thing that hold us back. You have to share your work if you want to get the exposure. Yes, your portfolio will never be perfect. Learn to accept that, but that's okay. None of our portfolios are perfect, because you know what? We are our hardest critics. It will never be good enough. It's never gonna be done. But do not let perfection keep you from getting it complete, because if you follow this formula, yes, you pay attention to details. Yes, you get this done. Instead of trying to get 5 case studies in, you get 2 in, and these 2 are good, launch it. Put it out there. Go back to it 2 years from now and improve it. Make it better. You're always going to make it better. But you know why? Because if you look back at something that you did 2 years ago and you don't see any room for improvement, that means you have not improved in 2 years. And I don't think that's going to be the case. So you're always going to find room for improvement, but that's okay. But you have to put it out there. You have to showcase it. And that's the only way you're going to be able to stand out and get in. Obviously, there's a lot more to the formula, but for the sake of time, I want to leave some room for Brendan to go in and talk about networking. And it is absolutely a very important part of the process. 92% of the jobs I've got in the last 5 years have been through networking. So you definitely don't want to miss that part. Yes, granted, yeah, I network and I did these things as well. And together they helped me land these jobs. But you do not want to miss the networking part. I have one more slide that I want to talk about is a finished portfolio is the best portfolio, as Mona Lisa said. And one more testimonial that I have here in the slide is from Diana. And for my freelancers out there, yes, these also applies to you. If you are a freelancer, you can absolutely still apply these things in land client. I did that with Diana. She came to me. She was a freelancer. She wanted to stay a freelancer, but she was like, I don't know if you'll be able to help me. My problem is I'm like, I can get client. I'm like, hey, listen, at the end of the day, it's the same thing. They have a problem. You have a solution. You just need to show them that you are the solution to the problem that they're having. And it's the same thing. You might be thinking to yourself, well, I can't go and research in job listing. No, but there's other ways. So I worked with Diana for, I don't know how long we worked together, maybe like 6 weeks. And now she's freelancing. She's had clients. She's booked months in advance because the formula doesn't change. Networking doesn't change. Different tactics, but at the end of the day, it's the same thing. If you want to be successful, if you want to land these jobs, there's a formula to it. And this is the way that I've done it. This is the way Brendan has done it. So, Brendan, onto you.
All right. Awesome work, Tantan. Very well said. I could not have said it any better, but what I'm excited about is part 2. So let me get started. All right, ladies and gentlemen, perk your ears up. Let's go. So part 2, get hired by networking, how to cut the line and master LinkedIn outreach. Guys, like I said in the beginning, how we started, we went through part 1, piece 1 of the puzzle. We're about to go through part 2. And really, hopefully, as you guys watch this, you guys get to see how the two pieces are really meant for each other and how they enhance and really help position you for the dream job that you're looking for. And you can't just rely on one, and you can't just rely on the other, because together it's a match made in heaven, and you need the both of them to make yourself look the part and be able to control the most of your outcome. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to go over how to rethink the job search. We're going to talk a little bit about the traditional approach that you've learned throughout school, university, college, all those things. And listen, it's not your fault. You were just taught a particular program that we're going to undo today so that we and you can serve yourself a little bit better. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to dive into today in part 2 is we're going to go over the traditional job approach, what's really wrong there, how we can do a little bit better, and what that better is our MML process, or matchmaking LinkedIn process. We're going to give you guys, we have a worksheet for you guys to go through all the steps we're going to go through in a minute detail. The process that I've used to get jobs in the past, open relationships, open doors, as well as what I have used to gain clients as well. So there's a multitude of ways you can use this process, but in this happenstance, we're going to be talking how you can use it to get your dream job. So what we're going to start with in part 2 is 1, we're going to rethink the job search. So we're going to talk a little bit about the traditional job approach and our job approach, which is the MLP process, or really the MLP for short, which stands for the matchmaking LinkedIn process. We're going to dive into a little bit what that means later, but we're going to share with you examples and results of our approach, the MMLP, and how it works. And secondly, we're going to dive into our MML process worksheet, where we're giving you the minute details of everything that we do to do our research, etc., to be able to open doors for our clients and new employers, relationships, and really everything that we want in order to best position ourselves to build our career, to build our client relationships, etc. Again, this process that we're sharing with you, we use it in multiple ways. Again, like I said, for clients, building relationships to open up doors to get hired as well. So if you wanted, you could use this for freelance, but we're not talking about this in that capacity. We're talking about how to use this process to get the job of our dreams. It talks about how to do proper research, how to build the right connections, as well as how examples of perfecting outreach. We even give you openers, how to start conversations where you don't know these people, and also how to build and foster relationships for the long haul. So with that said, let's continue. All right, rethinking the job search, traditional versus our MMLP approach. First, traditional. Let's go over what is involved in the traditional side of things. Now, granted, I don't want you guys to think, oh, this is my fault. I've totally been doing this wrong. Guys, listen, I had been doing this wrong for so long before I got it right. Okay? In the traditional job search, like we're told in traditional institutions, is you want to create a generic resume that has your skills, what you've done, what you've built, yada, 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 where you went to school. After that, you've built your generic resume, you've built your generic cover letter, and then you have applied on said employer's website. And then after you hit send, you wait and sit on your hands and wait patiently for somebody to get back to you and say to you either, we found someone better, or let's have a conversation. But that entire time between when you send resume and all those things versus when they get back to you is just anxiety. Okay, so what we're going to talk about in our approach and what's different is you actually have control over everything. So let's talk a little bit about that. But before we do, I want to talk about the pros and cons of this approach. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you probably have ran into some of those linked, especially if you've gone to boot camps, some of those posts on LinkedIn from past boot campers who have been applying to jobs, sent thousands of resumes, thousands of cover letters, etc., and are crying and have a 2-paragraph sob story. And ladies and gentlemen, it is because this approach is, as we see here, easy, but the cons are, it's a shotgun approach. You're not spending a lot of time researching exactly what the employers need. Therefore, when they look at your stuff, they're like, yeah, we don't really know how this person fits into our company. We don't know how to use them. It's not a transparent process, this entire thing. Like I said, you basically send all this information. A robot tells whether or not a hiring manager should contact you back. There's an automated email whether or not they want to see you and or talk to you or set up a meeting with you. And pretty much the whole time of the application process, you're sitting on your hands in a wait list with other hundreds, if not thousands, of other creatives trying to get the same job as you are. And essentially, you are a number in a list of people, in a stack of resumes and other cover letters, and you have no way of standing out in this situation. With that said, not transparent. You're literally shotgunning your resume in a well thought out way. You're basically shotgunning your resume, cover letter, and portfolio to many jobs without really researching what these people specifically need at their companies. So it makes it harder for them to understand how bringing you on board will actually help them. And they have to do this with thousands of other people. You're on a wait list, you're sitting on your hands, you're waiting, and machines are dictating whether or not, based on keywords, words you do or do not have in your resume and or cover letter, to decide whether to shift your resume onto the hiring manager's desk. So what we're going to talk about is our approach, the MMLP approach, the matchmaking LinkedIn process, so that you don't have to sit on your hands and you control all bits of the process through networking. Our job approach, this is how it goes. Instead of shotgunning, we do a deep amount of research. The traditional approach is quantity. How many people can we shoot our information to maybe, hopefully, get a response? And it takes so much time, so much grind, and it's almost like a spray and pray, and you throw across your fingers and you pray and hope that someone answers you back, essentially. Whereas our approach, it is a quality approach where you research your targets. And like we say here, number one, research your career destination. Where are we going? Do we want to work in the tech industry or with streaming services, which are Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, Prime, Video, you name it? What exactly are the challenges of those companies, of those brands? Who are the people on those teams? Who's the hiring manager? What are the people who are already in my position that I want at that company? What's in their cover letter? What is in their resume? What is in their portfolio? Do I have those things? Do I look the part as if I already were to work there? There is a blueprint that we need to research and find so that we can make ourselves look as if we already work there or would be the person that they would hire at those companies. And in our worksheet that you'll receive in this workshop, we list how to actually do this research, who to find, how to find them, etc. So definitely continue to stay towards the end for that resource. Number two, craft a specific resume, cover letter, LinkedIn profile, portfolio, etc. The whole thing about the MMLP process is the approach, which is research driven. We want to know exactly who we need to become. And all this data that we gather, it helps inform our resumes, how we should talk about ourselves, our cover letters, what we need to write to make sure that people understand we are the solution to their problems. 3, same thing, LinkedIn. How are we talking about ourselves? How are we branding ourselves? How do we understand what we need to say, craft, etc., so that when people look at our profiles, our words, how we talk about ourselves, that we are the right person for what it is that they are looking for. Our portfolio, same thing. So it's research driven in terms of how to really brand, become, and look like the person these people are looking for to help them solve their problems internally at their company. Once we have all that down pat, we know where we're going, we know how to make ourselves look the part, then we apply for the job. Because once we apply for the job and everything is down pat in terms of how we are communicating our skills, what we bring to the table, what we do for X, Y, and Z type companies, when people look at us, they shouldn't be like, the question they are asking themselves is not how does this person fit into our company? This person then understands this person fits into our company like this. That's the whole reasoning behind our approach. It's the difference between the traditional, where when people look at you, they're like, how do you fit? Our approach, when they look at us, they understand you guys fit in our company because X. So we're helping them do their job. We're making their job easier. That's why the research approach, our approach, the MMLP approach, is much simpler from the employer side, because we do their job for them, and it takes a little bit more time and effort to do that. And they'll thank you probably, because you made it so easy for them to solve their problems by just hiring you. And next, number 4, this is key. So 1 through 3 is about how to present yourself. Number 4, it's then how do you open those doors so that you don't have to sit on that wait list with other creatives in that mechanical line that just basically is looking for keywords on whether or not you put the right word in your resume or cover letter. It's not really fair. So what we teach is, for myself, I'm not the best writer. The power of networking is people hire people they know and they trust. Imagine all these resumes, all these cover letters you're getting. They have to figure out who you are just from a piece of paper. If you connect with them, you stand out and you are able to open up a conversation. You stand out much faster than the people who just sent paper. So that's why our MMLP approach is so much more valuable than the traditional. So let's keep going. And as I said, pros, cons. Pros, kind of went already through them. The pros are the proper research that we get, the proper data from our proper research allows us to specifically craft our portfolio, resume, and cover letter for people to understand who we are and what problems we help companies solve. So that our potential employers understand we are the right people for them versus them thinking, how does this person fit in our company? How do we use them? We're able to stand out because instead of the spray and pray method and tactics, we are actually going up to these people, opening up conversations and trying to get our foot in the door. And we'll talk a little bit about all our tactics and things like that. Again, this is things that will not only show you guys examples of how to start in open conversations, but also how to do research, how to think about opening conversations, and how easy it really is, so stay tuned. Building relationships allows you to pull strings that others can't. A resume line versus having a relationship, the relationship will win each and every time, especially, it's very rare that people open up conversations nowadays. People are so easy, or people are so used to the one-click apply on LinkedIn or just filling out some input boxes. That's the majority. If you open up conversation and have an actual interesting conversation and dialogue, and you take that effort to take that step, and that's a huge way to stand out. And of course, there's other ways to do that. We'll talk about that. And also, all of this, it helps you increase your odds of getting hired because people, as I said, hire people who they know and trust. The cons of this is it just takes a little bit more time. So, like I said, traditional approach, not the way you want to go. The MMLP approach, it allows you to control so many of the variables that are up in the air with the traditional approach. And we have shared with you how many people have gotten value out of this. And I can't wait to show you the examples of how this has worked for me. So why this works. This is an active approach to control the hiring process versus the passive approach the majority of people take, like I mentioned before. This is your best foot forward, the ability to open conversations. This helps you build relationships as well as get insider information and able to share your value in a human way in which a resume, cover letter, and portfolio don't get to do. This all happens through conversation with the people you want to work with and have a relationship with. This is how you control your outcomes. Very few people reach out to potential employers and employees at the companies they're interested in. It's a great way to stand out amongst the crowd, as I mentioned before. So let's dive into some of my examples and successes with this. I have 3 examples for you. Let's begin with a Adobe community position I was interested in a couple years ago, and share with you how I intercepted or really opened a conversation with this individual who I had no connection with, and what I said. So let's dive in. So basically, I did not know this individual. I simply put an in-mail to him and I said the title, Community Relationship Manager. And I said, hey blank, I'm reaching out to you because I recently applied to the community manager role you're hiring for, and I wanted to say hello and let you know how interested I am in the position. At Wix, I run daily community activities, produce educational content, conduct live Q&As, run, develop, and manage moderation of community spaces, and work closely with the community and product teams to provide insight feedback for our community to help drive product development, and have done similarly as the vendor for Adobe, working alongside blank, blank, and blank on several projects all around the XD product for about 4 years. With that said, I hope I get to continue this conversation with you and discuss the value I can bring to the Adobe family internally. I hope you have a great weekend, and let me know if a quick chat suits you. And number 2 here, you can see they get back to me immediately and say, hi Brandon, yes, I've heard a lot about you. Let me get things moving and we'll certainly talk very soon. Thanks for applying. So let's break this down really quick. I want to share with you, let's go through the MMLP and break down what we see here. First, we have, I'm reaching out to you because I applied for your community relationship manager. So in the in-mail, this person or this individual was like, why is this person messaging me? Title, this is why. I saw his LinkedIn post. I'm letting him know immediately. I'm contacting you because of blank. Number 2, why am I contacting you and why should you care about me? In this second paragraph, I basically say, I do exactly what you need at another company. This is what I do. Here are my exact things that I do on a day-to-day basis. And on top of that, I add some examples of who I've worked with already at Adobe. I name some names because I know he is connected with them, and if he has any questions, he'll go and ask. And 3, what's most important is after I tell him why I'm contacting him, why I'm valuable in terms of why he should interact with me. 3 is, all right, if you're interested, let's talk. So once we did that, the next week we had a call. It was great. And the only reason I'm not in this position today is because when we had this conversation, they let me know, Brandon, I absolutely love you. The people that you've worked with love you. Basically, he said, this is an undervalued role for you, and you're probably going to squirm in it because the amount of creativity, I've seen you do, the results that you just shared with me in our interview, I'll call you back when we have a bigger position for you to fill. Just be patient. That's how our interview ended. And listen, some of you guys might be like, oh, well, you didn't get the job. Listen, sometimes you don't want just the job. The traditional approach will give you just a job. This approach can give you a job, can build you relationships, and might even open up client work or side work. But the key thing for our approach is it opens up doors and it opens up positions. Those positions could be jobs. It could be freelance work. It could be anything. But relationships are more flexible than a job. A job is a dead end. Opportunities are open. Opportunities could be a job. It could be another job you didn't even, or another opportunity you never even thought about, which is exactly what happened here. I now have a relationship with a very high individual in the ladder of Adobe. They see my value and they said, listen, this position is below you. I have heard and have talked to you now. When we have another position of this caliber that I know you can fill, we're calling. So with that said, opportunities are always more, in relationships are always more valuable than a dead-end job. With that said, I now have a relationship that I can go back to. I can ask them questions. I can still be valuable to them and open up more dialogue with them. It's not a dead end. And if I'm interested in something else, I could chat them up and open up a door for something if my desire and or destination changes. I can use them to maneuver myself into another position I might want later on. So I want to share with you. The reason I wanted to share this example is because I wanted to share that opportunities and open doors and relationships are always more valuable than closed doors. I want the opportunity, not the job. I want the relationship, not the job. If I can get both, I want both. Or if I want all of them, I want all of them. All right, example 2, client outreach. So again, I don't know these people. I simply email them or inbox them, and this is how it went. This was a client outreach. Again, I just want to show you the versatility of this approach, and you can use it in any which way. The goal here with our approach is the relationship and the opportunities it comes with. I inboxed this client or potential client when I was working in the XD ecosystem. I was looking for plugins to work with, and essentially I found a CEO of an amazing plugin for XD, and I simply wanted to kind of just feel out really where they were going in the next couple months to see if they line up with the things that I was selling my other clients. I inbox, I say, hey, so-and-so, I hope you're well, my friend. I've been working within the Blank platform for quite some time, and I thought I'd say I love what you and your team have built for the design community. Out of curiosity, what is your team's focus for the brand in the coming months? He responds back to me and says, hi, Brandon, thank you for the note. I appreciate your kind words. We have ambitious plans for the product and brand, including working with customer evangelists who can talk about their experience building on Blank. I see that you create content with Adobe. We're an Adobe partner and work with Adobe closely. Do you see any opportunities to collaborate there? I message back. I say, essentially, there's a couple ways we can collaborate. We can gather talent, we can create content, we can distribute content. And really, I think our first conversation will be very exciting. I look forward to hearing back from you. Here's my calendar and let's talk. And so he essentially, in number 4, he says, sounds good. I grabbed some time, looking forward to it. But I want to break this conversation down, just like we did example 1 with the Adobe opportunity. If we look at this, again, I say, I love what you're doing. I've used your product. I'm curious, what and how are you moving in the next couple months? I don't ask anything of him. I don't want to sell him anything. I love what you're doing. What are you working on? Because I would love to know, because I love what you're doing so much. I really would just want to hear what you're moving on. But in my head, he's going to tell me exactly, because I've done my research. I know exactly where he's moving. I've looked at his social media. I know he's creating I know they're creating content. I've looked at their website. I know they're trying to do educational videos. So they are a prime candidate for me to reach out to be able to offer my services as a content creator, community builder, etc. And because I brand myself in this way, I have my LinkedIn profile built in the way to speak to people who are exactly like him, that I'm the right person to come and work with as an evangelist, content creator, community builder. So let's move to his message here. I see that you create content for Adobe. We're an Adobe partner and work with Adobe closely. Do you see an opportunity to collaborate there? I know that most people, before they message back, will look at me on LinkedIn, and if I have my profile displayed and correctly built, people will know that I am the solution to the problem if I've done the right research. And this shows that I have done my research here. I've reached out. They looked at me before messaging back. They saw I was a solution to the problem. They said to themselves, oh, Brandon works with Adobe. We work with Adobe. It's a perfect fit. So how can we, what can we do together? Here's what we can do together. Here's my Calendly. Let's find some time to chat. All right, awesome. Sounds good. Looking forward to it. Let's discuss. So again, wanted to nail it in. Research is so important to have people, to have what you have online that displays your skill set, to tell people without telling them specifically how you're going to help them solve the problem. As you can see here in number 2, he didn't even ask me anything, or he did, but he solved so many things already before he came and messaged me back. And look at how quickly he did it. 312. I see that you create content for Adobe. That means in less than a minute, went to my LinkedIn, saw what I do, saw that it was a value to him and his team, and said, how can we work together? Here's how. Let's book a call. Let's chat about it. Now, I'm still friends with these individuals today and his team. They have an amazing product. And listen, again, what's more valuable than a job? Opportunities and relationship. I not only have worked with these individuals, swapped, industry knowledge and helped them out, and they've also helped me out in situations. But I can always, to this day, we may not be working hand in hand, but we can always go back, open conversations, and we always talk with each other once a quarter and checking on one another, see how the product is doing. They checking on what I'm doing. And if there's any a crossover in the future, we figure out what we can do and move forward with one another. But that's why the goal is not just a job. The goal is relationship and opportunities, because that always brings more money. Not just money, it always brings more opportunities. With that said, let's talk about example 3. This is a job position that I wanted when I was very much interested in understanding the cohort boot camp, how design colleges, design online education were doing what they were doing online. So I wanted to insert myself in an institution and kind of reverse engineer how these things were being built, from the curriculum, the mentorship, etc. So what I did is I wanted to get a position at Design Lab. So what did I do? I looked at who was in my position at Design Lab. I didn't realize at the time, but I figured out through my research that the people whose position I wanted at Design Lab were called mentors. So what I did is I went on LinkedIn, just typed in Design Lab plus mentor. I found a whole list of mentors. I messaged about 10, 2 got back to me. And this is one of the conversations of one of the people that got back to me. So I said, hey, so-and-so, I saw you were part of Design Lab. I was interested in joining, and I was curious what your thoughts were on the day-to-day mentoring and the company. There's a whole bunch of messages missed because actually he was also an awesome individual and I was giving him some love back. So basically what he had done for me, and this is why reaching out to people is so awesome, because sometimes you get insider information. Sometimes a company you think you might want to work at, after you hear somebody that works there is like, I don't really like working here. And you kind of talk to them and you hear some things and you're like, oof, I thought I wanted to work there, but not any longer. Not after I got the insider information. That's exactly what I'm looking for here. I'm looking for insider information. Do I want to work here? Are there other places that I could work that this person might know that are not on top of my head? And is this person that I know have any connection with somebody that can help push me through the hiring process? So watch this. The next message I'm showing here is, I say, dude, you have no idea how much stress you've answered. Your answers have relieved. I appreciate this 100%. I'll definitely check out Lambda School. So he gave me a couple other, not just Lambda School, but a couple other mentorship programs that I should check out. And one of these I didn't even think about. So I got some information that I didn't even, think to ask about. Just because I opened up conversation with this individual I did not know for some insider information. Now, this next piece that I haven't read, then I get the ask. I always want to see if the person I'm in conversation with can bridge me to somebody else and connect me with somebody who can help me get a little bit further down the road. So I say, also, do you know who I could reach out to be introduced to at Design Labs, or be introduced to at Design Labs that can increase my chances of getting a position? He answers back, anytime. Great to watch your content. I'm thinking about, and he talks a little bit about his content, but basically, we can cut that piece out. In this next section, in number 3, he basically kind of go back and forth about content. In message 3, basically what I have here is he says blank is a point of contact and also blank. They both know me. So because of my ask here, he gives me 2 names that I can then immediately go and contact and use now that I have a relationship with this guy. I can now use his name to these 2 new people he's connected me with. So number 4, I found these new connections on LinkedIn immediately and I messaged both of them. One of them replied. So I basically say, hey, so-and-so, I'm reaching out to you today because I recently applied to the Design Lab to become a UX career mentor. And a friend of mine, name here, this individual that I messaged, another fellow Design Lab member or another fellow Design Lab mentor mentioned you'd be someone that could help me with the next steps in the hiring process or know someone who can. They messaged back, hi Brandon, happy to help. How long ago did you submit your application? I'm happy to let the person in charge of the application process reach out to you regarding the status of that if they haven't gotten back yet. It can take a few days. If you have any questions at all, always get in touch with me or my colleagues at blank email address. So a couple minutes later, I get a message. Hey, Brandon, just wanted to let you know that I'm confirming with blank that what the next steps are, or if you are all set up. Next email. Hi, Brandon. Thanks for following up here. Looks like there was a snag in our email, so apologies for the delay. You should be receiving an onboarding email shortly, which will also include a link to their registration. These are 3 examples of how our MMLP approach helps in simply building relationships and opening opportunities, and those opportunities can be jobs or more. All right, I showed an example where I have a relationship at the very tippy top of the Adobe organization where I can use that relationship and leverage it into a much better position when I'm ready to do that. Number 2, I showed you how I use the MMLP approach to get clients. Number 3, I showed you how to arbitrage and use the MMLP approach to get a job and fast track that when things are a little bit lagging. Again, all this stuff is control, and now we're going to talk about how you can do the same. Let's talk about our free matchmaking LinkedIn process worksheet. Okay? So this is the MMLP checklist. This talks about how to research, how to find, and initiate conversation with the right people on LinkedIn. Again, our checklist that is included will be in a link at the end of this presentation. And again, what this includes is our step-by-step approach for researching, identifying, and connecting with decision makers, how to craft initial personalized messages to those you wish to connect with, as well as techniques for nurturing connections and turning them into valuable relationships, as well as examples of our conversation openers, which you saw here, but you'll have that for you for your own keeping. So with that said, let's dive into some FAQs. You guys have probably been watching us for quite a bit now, and you're like, I got some questions, we got some answers. First question, some of you guys might be thinking, and what we've gotten asked before from some of our mentees are, I've already tried messaging people on LinkedIn. I was ignored. How is your process any different? Like I said before, part 1 of our session is about understanding what and how to become the person you need to be understood, to be the solution to somebody's problems. As I showed in example 2 with the client example, because I had my portfolio, because I had my resume, because I had my LinkedIn so perfectly positioned, it took less than a minute for somebody that I didn't even know to look at my to look at my LinkedIn and understand that I am a solution to a problem he's having. And I understood he had those problems because I took the time to research. So it's not just about messaging people on LinkedIn that gets you a job. There's everybody I'm sure here that's watching this has been spammed about jobs, has been spammed about random things on LinkedIn. And that is annoying. We are not messaging people to be annoying. We are messaging people to be like, hey, we've helped you do your job a little bit. We're going to help you do your job a little bit better. I have spent so much time to understand what your company needs, talking to people who work at your company, looking at the resumes, looking to see who you hire, and branding in myself and putting my work in such a way so that you understand in less than a minute that I am the right person to bring on board to help you solve the creative challenges that you guys are having internally. So it's not about messaging people on LinkedIn. It's about researching, understanding people's problems, crafting yourself as the solution, communicating yourself as the solution. And then when you message them, when they simply look at your stuff, they understand easily that you're the solution for them. So our approach is different because we're research first. We are quality, not quantity. And we do the right amount of research so that when we do reach out to people, we help answer the question that we know they're going to ask. How does this person help us at our company? Okay, number 2. So I hope that answers the question. We're not just spamming on LinkedIn here. We're actually doing a lot of research, using that research to inform our resume, cover letters, etc. So that when we do message people and they look at who we are, they know exactly that they found the right person to help them internally. And they'll skip that entire resume line. If they don't have to deal with a resume line and they just have to hire the person that spent a little bit more time crafting exactly who they are and how they're going to help X, Y, and Z their company internally, they'll take that over looking at hundreds of resumes and cover letters. So, 2, I've done my portfolio a million times. Why is this time any different? As I mentioned before, research is why this time is different. It's important if you know that you're going to be looking at streaming companies to be working at in the tech industry. You're going to look at their hiring manager. Who have they hired in the past? You look at their team. Who is already in the other seats of the position that you're looking to get hired in? How big is their team? What do their resumes look like? How do they talk about themselves on LinkedIn? Is your work better or not as good as theirs? Is there a gap that you need to fill? Do they talk about themselves and their projects in a way that you are or aren't talking about your project in a certain way? Are there certain things that they have that you don't? So you try to figure out, I want to go in that direction. There's a blueprint of kind of the type of person that they hire. How do I kind of match that blueprint so when they look at me, they're like, Jonathan, Samantha, Smith, and Sarah, this person that just came in, their work kind of not looks like them, but it reminds us, they kind of get a sense of this person is familiar. Again, people hire who they know and trust. If you look familiar, you're more likely to be brought in. Again, research. That's why. This time we are informing our portfolio, not just putting up a whole bunch of pretty work and being like, look at what I did. That's not going to work out. The people who are looking at your work still have to figure out, how does this dog website, this tattoo parlor website, and this random UI project help us as a streaming company solve the problems that we have on a day-to-day basis. So 3, how do I know I'm reaching out to the right people on LinkedIn? It's a great question. It all starts with research, right? It starts with our destination. Where do we want to go? I'm using continuously the streaming example. This is Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime Video. So I pick a very particular vertical, or maybe 2 to 3 verticals, and I stay within that, and I understand, okay, well, who makes the decisions here? Well, the people who make the decisions, who did they hire? What did they have? So by researching, by understanding what we do, and this is everything that you'll get in our MMLP approach checklist, how exactly to do the right research so that you know that you're reaching out to the right people on LinkedIn. Again, it's all research first. 5, does my portfolio have to be a website? Listen, we have had even some mentees come through our program who didn't even have a portfolio actually get a job. Now listen, when I say not a portfolio, this doesn't have to be a domain name, a URL, a www. We have had some mentees with PDFs, with Notion websites, and still get a job, and good ones at that. What we do here and what we do best is we understand where you currently are and where you are trying to go, and we fill in the gaps as efficiently and as quickly as possible. We do not want to have you guys spending another freaking year building out a portfolio. That is not what we do. We try to get you to where you're going as quickly as possible. If we can get someone to understand what you do and your value without building a whole website, that's what we're going to do. So we try to be efficient by doing our research and understanding what one side, your employer, is really looking for. If we can answer those questions, again, get them to understand what your value is in less than a minute, we're going to do that. Sometimes it takes in the form of a portfolio. Sometimes it takes a form of a PDF. Sometimes it takes in form in a Notion, and so on and so forth. But we're being strategic and understanding, where's our destination? Where are you? What can we do efficiently in between those 2 destinations to be able to get you to your destination a little bit quicker? So, like I said, we're efficient here. Portfolio is not always the end all be all. Portfolio is a tool to help you communicate your skill, your value to the people who are looking to solve a problem, and that solution is you. 6, was there a time you were rejected? Why? And what have you learned from this experience? The number one reason that I've learned all these years why I get rejected is the main thing that I tried to share with you guys in this is that you always need to look the part. That means researching so you understand expectations from employers, potential clients, potential people you meet on the street. You need to know what people's expectations are so that you can form yourself into that so that they understand, wow, this person is a really great friend, if we're talking about on the street, or a really great potential friend. I really like them. This person that I'm talking to, I see through their portfolios, through some of their past work, or just how they talk about themselves. They work with people very similar to me and have gotten them really good results. Wow, I should probably talk to them. Or employers. Employers will probably be like, we're currently having these challenges in our work internally, and we need somebody who does X, Y, and Z to come in and kind of clean that mess up. So being able to understand what people's problems are and be able to position yourself with the skills, value, etc., that kind of puts out the fire that they're having, that's exactly what we do here in our 2-step process. We look the part through portfolio, research so that we can inform our resume, portfolio, LinkedIn, cover letters, etc. And with that research, we reach out to the right people so we can save them from what they're dealing with, show them that we've done all this work to understand. We know that you're in pain, you have a fire that looks like this, and we are that fire extinguisher because we have X, Y, and Z value. So the rejection that I had recently was I wanted to reach out to an NFT platform. They had a creative directive role, and I'm very comfortable where I'm doing right now. But I was very interested in I love the platform. I wanted to kind of break in and have a conversation. And so I sent a message to 2 individuals. And on LinkedIn, you can see when someone comes and looks at your profile, very much like example 2. That one client that came in and looked at my portfolio, my LinkedIn profile, then immediately messaged me back in less than a minute. So when I messaged these creative directors at this NFT platform or this Web3 platform, they looked at my profile and they didn't message back. And I know exactly why they didn't message back. It's because on my platform or my profile, I have nothing about Web3. I have nothing about NFTs. I have nothing probably of value to them as high individuals in this corporation. And what that continues to, bring forth for me is that when you reach out to people, specifically people who have not that much time, people who make the big decisions, the hiring manager, things like that, you need to be able to, one, get their attention, but two, once you have their attention, be able to very quickly communicate how you might be of value to them so that they actually stick with you for a second to see if they should actually talk to you. Because if they stick around to talk to you just for a little bit, they might have a solution to something that's keeping them up at night. For example, number two, the client example in our second example here today that I showed you, he immediately saw my value, messaged me back in less than a minute. In this, they looked at my LinkedIn, I got their attention, but I didn't get I wasn't sticky enough. I did not have anything showing that I might be of value to them because I haven't been in the Web3 space. I'm not in the NFT space. I'm not really in the art space. So they had the initial interest, but what I had wasn't sticky enough. So what I learned is if you're getting rejected, the most plausible reason is you did not look the part. That's why our whole thing with me, Tantan, what we teach is research so you look the part. So when you get someone to slight attention, that 1 minute, they understand when they look at your stuff, you're for them. You're their solution. So, you catch our drift yet? So at this point, you've probably been watching Tantan and I for, could I say, quite a while. And I imagine you started to see how important both understanding your destination and where you'd like to work dictates what your portfolio, resume, and cover letter should actually look like, which then dictates who exactly you should be reaching out to best position yourself to get hired on LinkedIn. Everything we've shared here today will allow you to bypass the stress and uncertainty of the traditional method we've talked so lengthy about in this presentation. When you use our matchmaking LinkedIn process, you can actually create a destination for yourself and understand exactly who you should be reaching out to on LinkedIn to seal the deal on your future position at their company, versus sending resume after resume, cover letter after cover letter, and portfolio to hundreds, if not thousands of companies on a whim and waiting for someone to get back to you. We don't have time for that. And on top of that, we're smarter than that, and we can take things into our own hands. So with that said, I hope you can see, like Tantan's previous mentees have, that with Tantan's 5-step formula, you can go from an empty inbox or the desire to make a change in one's career and actually make it happen. Tantan's systems, processes, and guided help actually freaking work. And that's the real power of using these tools and systems that we've provided you today. So with that said, we're at the end of the workshop here, and as promised, I know you all are probably waiting for our resource link. So in just a few more minutes, we'll be sharing the link to the downloads. But there's a quick thing I wanted to share with you guys first, because at this point, you really have two options. Option A, you can take the resources and learnings we've discussed here in today's workshop and you can try to implement this stuff on your own. And by doing so, you'll see some results in the near future. Or option B, you can be guided through this process step by step from someone who's already been on this path and can work with you one-on-one to guarantee the dream job you deserve. There'll be no question as to whether what you've done in your efforts is right or wrong. You'll know exactly what to do each step of the way. If you want to take Path B is called the Expert Tips to Launch Your Dream Career cohort. The Expert Tips to Launch Your Dream Career is Tantan's private mastermind for those who want to launch their dream career, obviously. With that said, let's jump on over to Tantan to hear a little bit more about the cohort and hear some answers to some frequently asked questions about it as well.